You know, in the high-stakes world of European football, they created a rule that was meant to make everything fair. It was designed to save the game. But what if that very same rule is the thing that's actually breaking it?
That is the huge question we are diving into today. We're going to unpack this rule that promised a level playing field and figure out if it actually delivered or if it completely backfired and just made the most powerful teams even more powerful.
All right, so let's set the scene. You have to go back to the mid-2000s. Just picture it. TV money is exploding. It's flooding into the sport like never before. And you've got these super rich investors buying up clubs like they're the latest hot new toy.
And what did all that new cash lead to? Well, it kicked off a massive financial arms race. Seriously, instead of banking profits, clubs just started spending like crazy, locked in this constant battle to outspend each other on players for a shot at a trophy.
And the result of all that spending? A gigantic financial black hole. By 2011, get this, the top clubs in Europe had racked up a combined loss of 1.7 billion euros. The whole thing was unsustainable. Something had to change, and it had to change fast.
And so, in 2010, in comes UEFA. They're the governing body of European football, and they unveil their big plan to fix everything. It was called Financial Fair Play, or FFP, and it was supposed to be the lifeline the sport was crying out for.
The whole idea was actually beautifully simple. Just spend what you earn. Live within your means. No more relying on a billionaire owner to bail you out. No more piling up mountains of debt. If you wanted to play in the big European competitions, you had to balance your books. Simple as that.
Now, the official goal was all about creating financial stability. But there was this other, kind of hoped-for side effect. The dream was that by reining in the wild spending, the actual games on the field would become more competitive, more unpredictable, more fair.
But here is where our story takes a major twist. Because while FFP might have helped the club's bank accounts, a lot of people argue it absolutely killed the competition. The cure, it seems, came with some really, really unexpected side effects. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at what the research says. This academic study puts it bluntly. FFP didn't level the playing field, it basically froze it in place. The rich clubs just got richer, and everyone else, well, they were kind of stuck.
Think about it. Before FFP, a new wealthy owner could swoop in, inject a bunch of cash, and maybe, just maybe, turn a smaller club into a real contender. But FFP changed all that. Now, since spending is tied directly to revenue, the old guard clubs, the ones with huge stadiums and massive global fan bases, they have this permanent, massive head start. The ladder to the top, it feels like it's been pulled up.
And the data tells a pretty clear story. In the top leagues where FFP really had an impact, the competitive balance took a nosedive. Meanwhile, in the lower leagues that weren't as affected, things stayed pretty much the same. The numbers are hard to argue with.
And if you want to see what that frozen hierarchy looks like on the actual field, just look at this. For an entire decade, the top scorer award in the Champions League was basically a private party for two players from two clubs, Barcelona and Real Madrid.
So, with the elite clubs having cemented their power, what do you think they did next? Yep, they started looking at the biggest prize in the game, the Champions League, and thinking about how to reshape it to lock in their dominance even further. So, say goodbye to the old format and say hello to the new Swiss model. It looks a little complicated, but what it boils down to is this: more games, and especially more games between the biggest clubs.
And why the change? Well, the reason is pretty simple. Money. Cold, hard cash. More of these big glamour ties mean bigger TV audiences, which means more TV money, more sponsorship. You get the picture. The wealthy clubs have effectively rewritten the rules to help them stay wealthy.
The prize money involved is absolutely staggering. But look at how it's divided up. A massive 30% of it is based on something called a coefficient, which is basically a reward for how well you've done in the past. It's a system designed to make sure the clubs that are already rich and successful keep getting richer and more successful.
Okay, so all the numbers, all the economics, they paint a pretty grim picture, right? A future where the same teams win over and over again. But football has a secret weapon, a kind of magic that you just can't account for on a spreadsheet.
And that is the magic of the upset. It's that glorious, heart-pounding unpredictability that makes us all fall in love with the game in the first place. And if you ever need proof that this magic is still real, look no further than 2021. The tiny champions of Moldova, FC Sheriff, went to the Bernabeu, the absolute cathedral of football, to play Real Madrid, and they won. It was a real-life fairy tale, just pure, unbelievable football magic.
And that wasn't just some one-off fluke. The history of this sport is just filled with these incredible stories of impossible comebacks and shocking giant killings. The underdog's dream isn't dead, it's just fighting for its life.
And that leaves us with the big, lingering question. As the financial gap between the top clubs and everyone else gets wider and wider, can that romance, the magic of the upset, actually survive? Will the balance sheet ultimately win out over the beautiful game? Honestly, the future of football kind of hangs in the balance.